Welcome back, one and all, to another episode of Bad Creepypasta. I'm your host with the most, Jakey Boy, and today we have a special one put aside for you. It's called Loud House Lost episode, Lincoln's Dream. So, put your feet up and relax, grab a little bit of popcorn, a little soda pop, you know, a little submarine sandwich, maybe a whole fucking Thanksgiving dinner while you're at it. If you're watching this on Thanksgiving Day while you eat your dinner watching some Bad Creepypasta, I have one thing to say to you. God bless you. Anyway, without further ado, let's get into this. Why am I just holding it like, what? Catch! I didn't actually throw it. I wouldn't do that. The story is told from another character's point of view. The Loud House. Hello, my name is Yojiro Kamagaki. I am 17 years old and male, just in case any, nice females out there wanna take care of this poor, destroyed soul after what I've experienced. Call me. I loved the Loud House show ever since its release on June of 2014. I began to watch it and started to really get addicted to the characters and the storylines of the episodes. My favorite characters were Lincoln, Lola, and Lenny. Lincoln, being the only boy in the show, seems to go through challenges dealing with 10 sisters, Lola being the pride-filled brat, and Lenny being the second oldest, but the most dumbest. Most dumbest? Don't you mean the most, just the dumbest? Being the dumbest. Yeah, you don't need the most in there, you just say, but the dumbest. Needless to say, I loved the Loud House, but one mysterious day made me stop watching the show for good, and I mean it. Mean it. So, let's begin! Sit back and enjoy! It was a Friday afternoon and near the end of the school week. I, although got good grades and all, still thought about how much of the Loud House I was going to watch. I had already purchased the first 2 volumes of the show. I had also been waiting on more episodes to release soon. After I got off the bus, I ran back to go straight to my computer. I had a notification on my Gmail stating that a new episode of the Loud House had been released. If it would have been any other day, I would have gotten off the bus and found some musty old VHS tape sitting at the doorstep. At least you strayed away from that cliche. I'll give you credit for that one, boy. Unfortunately, I didn't have enough money then, so I thought I would watch it on regular TV, in which that day proved to be a big mistake. I went straight to the TV and turned it on. I changed the channel to Nickelodeon, and it was in the middle of commercial break, until they announced that coming up next was a new episode of The Loud House. I was jumping up and down. Weird for a 17-year-old, I know. But as the episode was started, I was glad to watch my favorite show of all time. The intro was normal and everything, but the next part is what confused me the most. The title card appeared, but there was no theme playing in the background like it normally did, and the episode was titled Lincoln's Dream. The picture showed a poorly drawn picture of Lincoln, which started to weird me out greatly. I continued watching and noticed that the opening scene was the Loud House as per usual. The Loud sisters were all in the living room and minding their business until Lena asked, "Where's Lincoln?" Lori, the texting brat, replies with, "I'm not sure about that." Lenny then says, "He probably may be at a friend's house." Lori then replies with, "No, Lenny, he clearly said something like he wasn't going to leave the house and had so-called plans." Okay, let me stop right here for a second. If you're reading this along with me, I leave a link in the description always for the creepypasta that I'm reading. If you look, there's no continuity in these quotation marks. I was already starting to feel uncomfortable because during this particular scene, some distorted 80s music was playing very faintly and it made my insides churn a little. The feeling of watching the episode really made me cringe. The next scene shows the second floor hallways zooming into Lincoln's bedroom. This scene too gave me a creepy feeling in my spine. This time while the camera was zooming in, it seemed like, quote, distorted, slow, and disturbing techno music was playing, close quote. Why was that there? What was the purpose for that being there? It was odd because the zooming in was so slow. It was even creepier knowing how my parents said they were going to go out for dinner. I was alone in a living room watching a thing that would later scar me forever. Then an image flashed on the screen for a millisecond, but I couldn't have time to make out what it was. The next scene showed Lincoln in his room on a phone and then talking on a phone. What, was he on one phone and then went to pick up another? What a phone? He was talking in a distorted voice and had rather odd-colored eyes. His eyes were bloodshot, and it looked like they were shaking. I automatically thought, shit, what in the name of hell am I watching? I continued watching like a fucking idiot. Lincoln is then shown laughing for a full 3 minutes with bleeding eyes and laughing with the sound of children screaming and distorted 80s music playing. Oh, this was so disturbing. I wanted to just puke after seeing this. The screen then glitched and it showed Lola, who was my favorite character of all time, was shown in her room admiring herself as per usual. Then a van was outside the house and it was white. There were 3 men, but they were not drawn in the Loud House style. They were also poorly drawn compared to the family. Lola was shown admiring herself again, saying, OMG, look at me, until there was a loud knocking at the door. One of the men were talking in Japanese. He said, oh, that Lincoln fellow really is going to pay us a big amount, boys. I understood what they were saying, and it was odd how there were no subtitles. Lola walked downstairs and stared at the door for about 5 seconds. I had my trusty little stopwatch, you know, and asked, who was that? One of the men's voices said in broken English, we are beauty pageant directors. Then one said in Japanese, Lincoln described that voice as like 6-year-old Princess Beauty Queen. Lola was looking pretty happy, and it showed her pink gloved hand reach for the knob in slow motion. Again, another flashing image was shown, but for about half a second. Lola opened the door, but the next scene really helped a lot on bleaching about 40% of my brain. The man got a machete and started slicing Lola up, and blood was splattering everywhere. The man said, look who's going to go to a show now! What? Afterwards, it shows Lola's graphically mutilated face for 3 minutes straight with distorted music, which this time I can make out it was David Bowie. Why David Bowie? Like why? It was so graphic to the point where I even asked and believed that I could be hallucinating. Then the screen glitches to the whole Loud House sisters all being mutilated and butchered by 3 Japanese assailants. I honestly threw up because this scene literally made The Walking Dead look like fucking SpongeBob. Lori, Lenny, Luna, Luann, Lynn, Lucy, Lola, Lena, Lisa, and Lily were all shown dismembered and snuffed up with arms, legs, entrails, heads, and eyes all over the room. One of the assailants said in Japanese once again, victory is ours, Lincoln is our man! My Japanese accent sounds more like fucking Austrian or some shit. After that, the screen lags, and it is showing Lincoln's head spinning with black ink squirting out and laughing so loud that it stung my ears badly. The credits of the show in the very end is what made me just lose grip on true reality. The credits was a video of Adolf Hitler! What? Adolf Hitler making a speech. Why? Why did you shoehorn Adolf Hitler of all things into this? Why? What's it there for? This isn't shock value. This just came out of fucking nowhere. The credits was a video of Adolf Hitler making a speech and with the credits of the creator showing. But then I noticed that a slideshow of the most unspeakable images showed after the credits had rolled. The images were so unspeakable, I just thought there was no point in even going to the internet anymore. What were they? I still live on, struggling to forget the most horrible thing I saw in my life, and by the way, there are letters that come to myself saying, hope you enjoyed it. What the fuck? You hallucinating shit? You know, you're just sitting there minding your own business, looking at YouTube or some shit, and some 3D words just come up in your vision saying, hope you enjoyed it. Like, what the fuck? Anyway, that was Loud House Lost episode, Lincoln's Dream. Now, I have several things wrong with this pasta. Again, like always on Bad Creepypasta, we have a thing here where we do not attack the writer of the pasta, rather just give them constructive criticism to make their future work better, hopefully. But of course, again, people everywhere tend to get, constructive criticism and attacking confused. But nevertheless, let's get into this. First thing. First of all, your capitalization and your grammar. Of course, I'm gonna be a fucking grammar Nazi here, speaking of Adolf Hitler. It's all ass. If you're foreign, write something in your native tongue. Unless you're completely, surefire fucking dead-ass fluent in English. Thing about being 17 years old and male, I can get the whole telling people your age part. I really don't get why you needed to put in that you're male. Like, who gives a shit? Like, this is a creepypasta, not fucking Tinder. Almost half expected you to go into detail about your preferences in women or some shit. I will give you extra points for not saying you found some VHS tape at a garage sale with a crazy old man. You got some notification saying there was a new episode and you went and caught it on television. Excellent. A way to stray away from cliches. Anything to get away from cliches, that's fucking excellent. Another thing here, going back to the grammar thing, going into detail about quotation marks. They're everywhere, and not where they're supposed to be all the time. Some serious fucking continuity issues here. The part where it says he clearly says something like he wasn't going to leave the house and had so-called plans. The plans part is in quotations, but not the correct type of quotations. If you're gonna do a quotation mark within a sentence that's already in a quotation mark, you want to use the singular quotation mark, and then end this sentence with your normal quotation marks regardless of where the singular quotation marks lie within there. If you're gonna put out a piece of literature, make it presentable. Please. Thank you. And in the end, while the credits are rolling, showing a video of Adolf Hitler making a speech, that's just... At this point, it's fucking goofy as all fuck. That's not even remotely scary. And when you say, quote-unquote, a slideshow of the most unspeakable images showed after the credits rolled, the images were so unspeakable, I just thought there was no point in even going on the internet anymore. If you were gonna go into something like that, you should have had some things in mind to describe what the images were, instead of leaving it at, this. I'm not gonna tell you. A good writer, in character or not, doesn't want to spare the reader that kind of detail just because I don't want to. I can't think of anything. If you can't think of anything, you really shouldn't put that in there in the first place. It's really underwhelming. It doesn't even give the reader an idea. And the ending where it says, there are letters that come to myself saying, hope you enjoyed it, that was fucking stupid. Not to insult you or anything, but that was one of the worst creepypasta endings I've ever seen in my life. Basically, what that tells us is you're having hallucinations of these big words flashing in front of your face saying, hope you enjoyed it. Like, what? It really doesn't make any sense at all. And what the fuck was this referencing David Bowie for? Like, why? Did the ghost of David Bowie, haunt this lost episode of the Loud House or some shit? It would have been better if you would have left it at distorted 80s music. You went into maybe a little too much detail saying, David Bowie. You could have just left it at distorted 80s music, and that's it. That gives people an idea of what to imagine hearing. It's stuff like this, the stuff that, people pull out of their ass just to put in the pasta just cause. This is the kind of shit that makes a Lost Episode creepypasta one of the lowest common denominators in creepypasta genres. I think it might be a little bit of cheating that I'm featuring Lost Episode creepypastas on Bad Creepypasta, but yeah. There's just some I cannot ignore. And finally, it's a fucking wall of text! Come on! Do me a favor and look up paragraphs. P-A-R-A-G-R-A-P-H-S. Paragraphs. They'll come in handy. All in all, it's not the worst pasta I've ever read, but it really needs some facelifts, some fucking work. Anyway, that about wraps up this episode of Bad Creepypasta. If you enjoyed what you saw, go ahead and give that like button a click. And if you want to stay up to date on Bad Creepypasta, please subscribe and turn notifications on. And if you really enjoyed this episode of Bad Creepypasta, please share it with your friends and share the laughs. Here at Bad Creepypasta, we tend to enjoy laughably bad creepypastas. And also, if you found one that you want to submit, feel free to drop it down in the comments below, or on my Twitter at Utonical. This is Utonical saying I love you guys, and I'm signing out.